Welcome to Afripost, ladies and gentlemen. Now, my name is Victor, and one question that I have: why are Western countries and Asian countries so interested in Africa? I will not look at that question largely as it is, but mine today is to single out Russia. In the past few months, and in the past decade, for that matter, Russia has been alive in many African countries. In fact, we know that it has assisted in military cooperation in certain African countries where the Wagner Group has been present for many years to ensure that they bring peace to those countries. But then the question is, why Africa? You know that during the Soviet days, Russia or the USSR and Africa had close ties, and many African countries were in support of Russia. But because of the Cold War and the fall of USSR, Russia decided to look back inwards. Now this is what's happening. Russia has studied Africa, and Africans have seemed to be so tired with the colonial powers that have controlled it for many years. And that is why you see that there have been many coups, especially in the Sahel region. The Sahel region is very critical, and more so to France. The French troops have been in that region for quite some time. And one thing they say is that they have been deployed in that region to bring peace. But then, is it just peace as it is said? There have been many demonstrations that have shown that France is heavily dependent on resources from the Sahel region and Africa for that matter. Why is Russia thinking or even making steps to get to Africa? This is what I want us to talk about. Before we dig deeper, let us ask ourselves, did the dalliance between Russia and Africa begin just recently? This is not the case. During the fight for independence in most African countries, Russia played a huge role. It funded some countries, it helped them in arms, it also gave them strategic advice on how to topple Western countries and the colonizers. And this is why the relationship between Africa and Russia has been a little bit cozy. But in the recent times, it seemed to be stepped up. And this is because there have been strange geopolitical reasons that are forcing Africa and are also forcing Russia to engage with each other. In the past months, you saw BRICS that brought together Brazil, Russia, India, and China, among other countries, to work together under a new global conglomerate that calls for independence and respect of sovereignties of different countries. Now here, Russia is a major player who has been championing for Africa to be liberated from the West, and that Africa should come to be a partner rather than a beggar or even somebody or even a country that is looked at as a minor among major nations. Prior to that, Vladimir Putin hosted African leaders in a Russia-African summit, and this summit also emphasized the role of Africa in ensuring that the world grows to where it should be. In fact, Vladimir Putin himself said that for him, he wants to partner with Africa, and he does not want to impose his culture, his lifestyle, his rules on Africa, and that Russia is open to trade and work with Africa in an open manner with mutual respect for countries as it were. Now, one primary motivation that Russia has for Africa is that the continent has a vast economic potential. First of all, Africa is home of numerous untapped natural resources such as minerals, oil and gas, and many other resources, including even human capital. Africa presents a huge market for any trade partner that would want to partner with it. So this is what is happening. Russia has realized that Africa is a nation or is a continent that is full of very many economic potential. And in fact, since Russia itself is resource rich, it sees Africa as a source of valuable commodities and opportunities for investment. For instance, Russian companies have been increasingly involved in mining, energy production, and even building infrastructural projects across the continent. This is one of the ways through which Russia has engaged and is seriously motivated to work with Africa. Another significant aspect of Russia's engagement in Africa is the arms trade. In recent times, you saw that the Sahel region experienced serious coups. For instance, in Burkina Faso, we saw that there have been almost 2 attempted coups on Ibrahim Traore, who also ascended to power through a coup. But this time, you noted that these coups have been contained perfectly. This is because of the relationship between Russia and Burkina Faso. Russia shares strong and valid intelligence with African leaders of interest, and this helps them to contain their securities in their countries. So this is an aspect that Russia is also considering to work with African countries to help them rise and grow. Russia has a long history of providing military equipment to African countries, and this is something that is evident. You've even seen the Wagner Group working in many different African countries and working to maintain peace. This is a strategy that is also there. This is not only to foster economic relationships, but also to enable Russia also gain influence in African governments. The arms trade is a strategic tool in expanding its spheres of influence in the continent. Why would Africa abandon the Western countries and look to Russia? There are geopolitical factors at play, and these are crucial in Russia's interest in Africa. A relationship with the West, particularly with the United States, have become increasingly strained. You know that United States, for it to have a relationship with you, it gives you the rules, and you must play by these rules. And if you don't play by them, you will end in that relationship. And in fact, as a country, you end up losing. So Russia has assessed this kind of relationship that the West is having with African countries, and it has noted that Africa has come of age, and it does not want someone to bully it, someone to control it, someone to just look at it as a low and underdeveloped continent. And therefore, Russia is taking this advantage and filling the void that the Western countries are leaving. In fact, African countries also offer a potential support base for Russia in international forums and diplomatic disputes. You've seen in United Nations meetings and global organizations, Russia has been voting together with certain African countries when it comes to making serious decisions in the United Nations Security Council. This is something that is very crucial to Russia. Also, security is a growing concern for both Russia and Africa. Russia has a vested interest in preventing the spread of extremist ideologies, particularly those that come in the Sahel region. So the collaboration between Africa and Russia helps in sorting out counterterrorism and security issues that Russia has the opportunity to strengthen, and therefore build relationships that make Africa safe and also able to trade with it. So if you look at this, you will note that Russia is not coming to tell Africa how it should behave. In fact, it is not coming with conditions to push Africa to behave in a certain way. Russia has accepted Africa as it is, and it is ready to collaborate with it to ensure that there is a mutual understanding and a mutual cooperation that promotes growth for both countries and one another. This is something that is lacking when you go to the Western countries. Look, for example, at what happened in Niger. The French ambassador to Niger refused to leave that country after an uprising of the military, and the citizens demanded that they leave. In fact, France itself said that they will not recognize the junta that is ruling in that country right now. But in the end, they had to give up because you know that people power is always very strong. No matter how long you want to stay on the grain, it will push you out. And France accepted, and so that there is a necessity for it to get out of Niger. This is something that Russia is not taking lightly. It has told Africa that you must stand up for your rights and you must be respected among community of nations. And as a continent, you have a lot to offer. Come and let's work together. That is the same thing that even China and other countries are offering. So the main question here is, will Russia succeed in building this relationship with Africa? That is what we're waiting to see.